Hi students, in this video I'm going to give you just a quick tutorial about this writing assignment on thesis and significance. These are two of the most sophisticated components of your basic historical analysis of a source. And they're explaining why the source is important. And so it requires a more philosophical approach to the source. It requires integrating the source with the other material that you're learning in the class about the period that the source is from. And so it takes time and thought to put these statements together. But I hope that this exercise will help you. So just to kind of give you an overview here, when you write your thesis statement and then when you expound on it, when you talk about the significance of the source, you want to be able to say why this source is important for understanding the historical period that produced it. If it's a source from ancient Greece, why is this source important for learning about ancient Greece? What does it teach us about what ancient Greek society was like? If it's from the Protestant Reformation, what does this source teach us about what the Protestant Reformation was like? That explains the significance of the source. But to do that, it's not enough merely to describe what's most interesting about the source. So this is one of the two traps that people typically fall into that I'm trying to alert you to ahead of time. One is that people just describe the source. And we're looking for something more fulfilling than that at this point. We're looking for something that says, bearing in mind that this is what the source describes, we can make this argument about, in this case, the Industrial Revolution. So we want to get away from just describing the source. The other issue that a lot of people struggle with is the issue of using language that gets too far away from the text or is too imprecise. I've used, you can see here, I've used the phrase imprecise, word imprecise. And these thesis statements get too far away from the source or don't get specific enough about what it's teaching us about the period. So sometimes I read thesis statements or statements of significance that say that this showed that things were changing, showed that things were changing during the period of ancient Greece, showed that things were changing during the Protestant Reformation. And we need something more specific than that. We need something that says, given that this source says such and such about the Protestant Reformation, we understand that this specific thing that I'm pointing to, that I'm telling you about in this paper, is changing. So I hope that's helpful. Just to give you an overview of the assignment here, have a model, thesis, significance statements, both of which were written by a student who took this class. And then I have examples here, but these are examples of what to avoid. And so as you go through these examples, having looked at the model, I want you to identify which one is too descriptive and which one is too imprecise. And then towards the end, you'll provide your own. You provide your own thesis statement, and then you build out from that thesis statement into a paragraph that explains the significance of the source in more detail. I'm not asking you to do the full section, which for your papers should be about half a page to a page. I'm just asking you to give me 3 sentences, kind of expanding your thesis statement. So just to close this video, I want to look at the model that I've provided for you here. Let's look at the thesis statement first. Finding work by Adelaide Popp. So it begins by talking about the source. It begins by giving the source by name. This is really important because that's the foundation of your argument, that you're analyzing the source and you're moving from that analysis to a broader argument. So you want to make sure you begin with the name of the source. And what does it tell us? It shows us that working girls during this period often struggled to feed themselves, revealing how working conditions in the Industrial Revolution endangered and marginalized individual workers. So it tells you something about the source, very specifically. It says, it shows that working girls often struggled to feed themselves. And then it explains why this is important. It's important to know that working girls struggle to feed themselves because it reveals how working conditions during the Industrial Revolution endangered and marginalized individual workers. So I hope you can see here that what the author has done is that they have moved from talking about the source to explaining what the source teaches us about something broader, in this case, the Industrial Revolution. You could almost say that this language, endangered and marginalized, is a little bit too broad, but it's okay. But you don't want to get more imprecise than that. Okay, second part, look at the significance statement here. Finding Work by Adelaide Popp is an in-depth look at one teenage girl's life and the harsh and daunting brutality of the Industrial Revolution for young boys and girls. Whether you are a boy or a girl, you are expected to work long hours, often in dangerous working conditions for abusive bosses and always for low wages. These conditions placed workers in danger of physical injury, estranged them from their families, and left them vulnerable to the unscrupulous attentions of those in authority over them. So you can see here how, again, it's the thesis statement, but it's expanded. So when you talk about the significance, you want to expand this section of your thesis statement. How were they endangered? How were they marginalized? And talk more generally about how the Industrial Revolution changed society. I hope this is helpful. Of course, ask me, email me if you have any questions, and I'll look forward to hearing from you soon.